possible for Harris County to pull this off. So respectfully, I ask y'all, please do Harris County a solid. We consider this to be an emergency. Please let us have the certainty in the planning process to pull this off, to give our delegates and our grassroots the experience they deserve this next convention cycle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Thomas?
Leslie Thomas, SD 23. Point of information. Since
Yes.
this is a rule change, is it a majority vote or 2/3 vote?
It's a 2/3 vote.
Thank you.
Well, we're speaking against now, Mr. Fairbrother.
Well, I'm waiting to speak for change.
Anyone speaking against? Okay. Mr. Fairbrother.
Okay. Just want to mention Williamson County as well, even a smaller county compared to Harris County. Our good facilities start filling up September, October of this year when the schools release their calendars, and if we don't reserve space now, we may not get a space, and we typically have 400 to 600 at our county convention, and it's a good space, affordable space fills quickly, so it is an emergency for us.
Thank you. Mr. McDonald.
Chris McDonald, SD6, speaking in favor of striking this language. All we have to do is look at what's happening before us right now. It is exigent circumstances. Look, here it is, 2021. We're still fighting and appealing our 2020 convention contract and running that up the chain. Look at what's happening right now with mask mandates. Every single one of them at the local level is being challenged to the next successive court. We know, based upon what's in front of us and the history and actions of the Democrat Party, everything is going to be litigated. So we know for sure, regardless of what comes out of the legislature, it's going to court. This is exigent circumstances. Let's have some foresight and planning. Give our people some stability to set those plans in motion, know when they're going to meet, secure the meeting places, get organized and prepared to do a great state convention in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Rolando Garcia, SD 15. I'm pretty sure there will be a majority for this, but this requires a 2/3. So I would implore anyone who has any doubts about this, punting this until December, you're going to blow up the Harris County Convention process. And I would say there's no reason to oppose this or to put this off until December, because we know this will be an emergency. It may not be an emergency for your county right now, but it will be. We know this. So why do we wait until December? So please vote for this.
Mr. Patrick.
Matt Patrick, SD 16. I'm really echoing a little bit what Sean has already said, but what he said is also true for Dallas County. Our executive director for the Dallas County Republican Party is here and informed me that we are going to be meeting in September and electing people, our temporary chairs for the SD conventions. I've had that job the last 2 cycles, and I can tell you I got it late the first time. And if you start looking in January, we can't find one for SD 16. The large churches, for whatever reason, either they won't have us because they don't want to have a political convention, or the really large ones have so many small groups meeting that all their space is taken up and they can't accommodate us. So there are very few facilities in my state district that can accommodate my planning needs for 400 to 600 delegates. So yes, this is something we need to get started right now, and you can't do any of the planning until you know exactly what the day is. I can call the many facilities that I want to and say, hey, and their first question is, sure, what date? If I can't tell them the date, not a range of dates, not a series of potential dates, dates that is emergency for Clark County, that's worse for Houston, that's also going to be bad for Dallas. Please vote in support of this. Thank you.
For the purpose of having certainty, and that's why I presented them to the body that we passed. And now to say, oh well, just wait later, we can't. This is Harris County, and it's a mess. We've got an ad committee already started for conventions in Harris County, and we've got a county executive committee meeting coming up in September. Our next one I know is going to be in November. Waiting until December will not work.
Stanart, SD15, just to echo all of these, but also to tell you that the convention in Houston for the business conventions and the central district conventions, of which we have 8, have been meeting for weeks trying to get all this done. This has been very thoughtfully considered. SD17. Part of my SD is in Harris County. I don't live in Harris County. I live in much smaller Brazoria County, and that's where I'm involved in SD conventions. But I will tell you, as an SREC representative for Harris County, when you look at the number of dictionary dumpster fire, Harris County SD convention is what comes up. It is a massive mess of gargantuan proportion that I cannot explain to you. It's awful. So I implore you, if you come from smaller counties and SDs, please respect what these Harris County people are saying. You can't imagine, y'all. You just can't imagine. Please, they need this. They're all going to be crying in their ear after this if you don't let them have it. This does not violate our principles. Let's help Harris County.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Almar on the Winchester report. I just want to let you know and we all pride in our community that we don't get here. Thank you.
Hi, Deborah Felting by SD7 Harris County. So, just for everybody, to apply some background for us, we have decided, I talked to the lead of the convention committee, and we're going to be having all SDs in one location, and thank you for one day. So we're going to be just fine, but we do appreciate the time to sit right at the end of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There's no further debate. Please vote with your voting pad. Press 1A if you're in favor. Press 2B if you're opposed. Press 3C if you're abstaining. Signal me when you're ready. Voting closed in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voting is closed. Secretary, announce the results. The affirmative has it. The amendment. The amendments adopted. The RPT general rules are despite David Wiley's best efforts.
Point of information. This rule is still in place. They were changed, and therefore it should be the rules in place.
We can modify those two rules anytime we want. 1E said they can only be effective on January 23rd, so that was the conditional rule. By striking that, we adopt those rules and my next action here in language Chairman, the Rules Committee respectfully requests that the Secretary of the Party send notice to the Secretary of State of the changes under Texas Election Code 163.005. We have 30 days to notify them of our change. Mr. Chairman, thank Mr. Nobis for bringing these forward and the discussion going. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Next is Officials Committee. I included the report of the Officials Committee within the Chairman's report. So I have nothing further. Next is the Candidate Resource Committee. Hold on, Steve. I'll present the Candidate Resource Committee report. Testing 1, 2. First of all, can my committee stand up, please? Everybody that's on the CRC? Stand up. Everybody. Thank you, guys. All right, next slide, please. We have a Facebook page in case some of you guys know. We're going to do a little bit of review of what we're doing. Please, if you're not on there, the rules are if a candidate wants to announce they have they're running, they can for advocacy because we're not supposed to be a partisan group. So please get on there. People that are Republican, and that's how we run the CRC. Okay, CRC donation rules, just a review. We cannot do raffles. We have no cumulative cash contributions over $100. No $120 the next time, you're in violation. And so please kind of keep up with that. Options, we need to make sure you don't have an option item. You need to do any kind of contribution for the price, and that way we keep our accounting and keep ourselves out of trouble. No anonymous contributions. We donated to a charity. So make sure that they're not. Make sure you fill out all the information. You fill it completely. Corporation contributions. They're a little bit more complicated. And stacked up. Questions about it, Mr. Fred over there will answer any specific questions. And if he answers it wrong, it's his fault. No contributions. Hello. No misuse. Do not send emails to elected officials or government employees. Yeah, that's against the rules. We can do any state political action committee, unlimited. Federal political action committees, we have that special or the RPT finance staff. We have no
pockets. One way is you can do it on our CRC page on the GOP website. We have the actual envelopes you have there that we will always use. They cost us 17.5 cents. We also have a back payment form. One of the problems we used to have with some application in there on the west side of Houston, and they had to drive to the east side of Houston to bring envelopes. That was a pain. So now we can email these kind of a facsimile of the envelope and make it that way. Just make sure everything's filled out correctly. And also, if you want to, if you did the SREC's money and they get their we have gone to a completely virtual application process online. Virtual 4 years ago worked on this, and I think he slept. It's simplified. I think we get a little bit of argument with some of these guys is, why do I have to do a budget? So because we're Republicans and we're financially responsible, that's what we do. So these guys the application process actually makes them have a plan. Next, core of application is the vetting process. So we follow Rule 43A. That is our core requirement for determining. But the Rule 43A is platform committee of the biennial state conventions to prepare a list of the four principles, and they have to explain their support of each of those principles, or they're not supportive of those principles. Then if they have to check off a no, they get a call from us to clarify, and that goes into the determination of life and the policies of the party on life. Next. Also, you are invited to help us by submitting a fact application as a test of the virtual send out a code word and the link. If you guys will fill it out, you can call yourself Mickey Mouse or you put your real name in there and kind of test the parameters of it and tell us what you like about it. Option. We are going to option something real quick for the auction. Ann, you stand up and give a description of these items.
So I do a lot of jam. Actually, so this is actually something I call my political jam. I am going to probably, I don't know, maybe I'll create something like that. But so there's three flavors. There's peach is red chocolate jam. There's black blueberry and unimpeachable peach jam. I try to use organic ingredients when I can. These are healthy and wash them. And the peaches are from East Texas. I just bought them at the end of the, right before they go bad. So anyway, they're really good. All I know.
$30 because we got to ship it to you.
200, 220, 250. Somebody's going to go into the jam business. I know. 250 is the last bid. 300. We got 300. Joe Walsh. 400. Anybody else? $500. That's half a key pin right there. 650. 700. You're bidding against yourself. Oh no, 750. 750. 751. 751. Thank you very much. Tell you what, that's gonna be very expensive. Oh, yeah, 25 more. 726. Oh, oh, you're still on the hook. I'm sorry. Okay. Very good. You're at the same sewing machine. All right. Is that it right there? Once, twice. That's great. Very good. The record was 84 brownies for $1,000. Also, what's that? Yes, you would. We got one more thing. Okay, Leslie, are you so I certainly can't bid on it. Anybody who would donate, but this is good for munchkins. If you got munchkins at home, I can send them this to school and see if they get expelled.
So you can give this to any activist that's Austin, because this is what they're in Austin. You can give it to someone who is really working on election integrity. You can be one of the cool kids and wear this at SREC. It depends.
Anybody else? Brandon said 51. Anybody else? 50? Next slide, please. That's the picture. All you guys are familiar with GPS. I want to award that would be Gwen has earned her keep in, and we'll get a picture of Mr. Ronaldo.
have to raise $1,000 per year. It's a cycle, and that's a obligation of SREC. Each of us will raise at least $2,000. The committee is committed to raise a significant amount more, and the staff is that each of the chairmen give $25,000 from personal funds to this. Yeah, oh, did I tell you that when you were in? Thank you very much. But oh, and I think we have some unfinished business too on appointments. We do that now. Slide. Thank you guys for your time and appreciate your support.
Thank you. Next up, I call upon Susan Fountain to present the party organization committee report.
First of all, I'd like to have all of the members of the party organization committee stand and be recognized as they have done a amount of work. Thank you guys. The party organization committee met yesterday and is focused on, but not limited to, the following three priorities: precinct chair recruitment, training to expand grassroots involvement, updated the exclusive content folders on the RPT website, expansion of the county chair websites for the almost 150 regarding the precinct chairs and training, for too long, about 15 years, the grassroots have been asked to write checks for candidates, vote for them, and at that point, the communication seems to stop at the top tier of very highly engaged voters. That formula has increased voter apathy and the idea, and there is no way to reverse that. We cannot accept that narrative any longer. It is imperative that our grassroots get interested and informed. This is our call to action, especially in our large counties, from where I live, to recruit and activate precinct chairs in as many precincts as possible, and to focus on the proper training, give them the tools that they need to be successful, and the dissemination of critical information that they can pass on to the people in their precincts, as well as recruiting of as many possible vice chairs to help the precinct chairs cover their districts. You do not have to be a precinct chair to work your precinct. So one of our precinct chairs up in Dallas has 15 vice chairs, and so the more the merrier. Many of our precinct chairs are unaware of the fact that they are capable of getting the access to our GOP data center, which helps them identify the real Republicans in their neighborhood. So we're also updating the exclusive content, and Becky Green has led this effort. Thank you so much, Becky. We are updating the folders, making as many general housekeeping edits and corrections. Many of them are ones the same information, but they just need to be updated and shown that they're the current 2020 or 2021 version. We're changing the contact information, information in the manuals. Our precinct chair handbooks have been updated to reflect up-to-date source of information for, we've got to have a focus point for all of our rural areas to go to. Our SRECs in rural areas are sometimes 8-hour car trips to the next county chair's office or county executive committee meeting. It's critical that our county chairs websites be created, maintained, and updated with pertinent information to help our grassroots keep up to date. To that end, we will continue to work with, in partnership with TRCCA, to ensure that this goal set in December of 2019, our quarterly meeting there, it will be accomplished as soon as possible. So that completes our party organization report.
I call upon David Riley to present the Partnerships and Coalitions Committee report.
Good afternoon, Chairman Hawley, fellow SREC committee members. Please provide you with the support of the Partnership and Coalition Committee's activities. During the time from Tyler to now, we've been adjusting. But we not receive any formal applications by any groups to be considered. We are still looking to talk with the and we did have one party national application for the Texas Hispanic Republican Assembly, and they have a number of chapters around the state, and so we look forward to perhaps hearing from them. We are meeting yesterday did form a commitment to have a month-to-month conference call in which we can open up dialogue on new coalitions and get applications that will be on the third Friday of every month at lunch. And at noon, that'll be on the calendar. Jen will be getting the connection information out to all you members for that. One task that we were charged with by the former chairman was, in the absence of the convention committee, if we would review the convention booth policy as it had been in the past and recommend to the body a convention booth policy for 2023. The review of this, and I don't know, it may be displayed there. What we decided was to keep the same booth policy that we had before. It worked well. It talks about minimum space for exhibition and advertisement. By invitation, it will be handled by the RPD staff. Will get the applications and will determine if they match or don't match our requirements. And we will present those to the officials committee. The officials committee will decide if the recommendation of staff is accurate. And any appeals will be appealed to the officials committee for review and possible action upon the request of the vendor, and the officials committee will have this special literature until the convention adopts its rules. And acceptance or denial will be based on availability, completion of the package, adherence to policy, RPD bylaws, and RPD rules. As our 2022 or 2023 RPT convention deliver policy.
The motion on the table is to adopt the policy. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Steve, strikes section where it says
moved and seconded that And Mr. Secretary, will you please make sure the chair is indicated as voting aye.
Tom Novus. Yeah. Tom Novus, Dan Gephardt. Tom, you good?
Gephardt, you're good.
Don Elliott.
Jason.
You stepped out. And the chairman is over there on that one.
Pretty good version?
Your vote.
No, no, everybody.
Yeah, you can count down.
Okay, voting will close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voting's closed. Will the secretary please read the results?
That's the vote, Jason. 62-0.
The motion is unanimously passed.
On behalf of the Resolution Committee, I move adoption of resolution defending medical freedom and personal responsibility as presented. Therefore, be it resolved that the Republican Party of Texas applauds Governor Abbott's order prohibiting public mask mandates and thanks him and Attorney General Ken Paxton for aggressively enforcing the order against rogue local government officials. And further, be resolved that the Republican Party of Texas opposes vaccine mandates, both public and private, urging Governor Abbott to add this issue to the special session call and ask the Texas legislature to enact laws protecting Texans from public and private vaccine mandates.
It is moved that the resolution defending medical freedom as projected be adopted. Is there any debate?
Yes. Can we amend this to have it sent to the governor, the attorney general, lieutenant governor, and then Republican representatives and senators, and the speaker of the House?
Is that a parliamentary inquiry or?
Yeah, I move to amend.
You move to amend?
Second.
Okay. The motion is to amend to be specific, to add the language the same as was added to the last.
No, it would be more expensive. Yes. The governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, the Republican senators and representatives, and speaker of the House.
Okay. So the added languages are pulling it up on the sheet here.
ASAP.
Yeah. Okay. So after vaccine mandates, the proposed amendment is You have it? It would be, at the end, would be be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be delivered to Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, House Speaker Dave Phelan, and the Attorney General and each of the statements, not on the underlying motion. Are you waiting to talk about the amendment?
Separately.
Okay.
To move that one down below, that needs to be the last one. Yeah.
Thank you. So There being no further debate, the question is on the adoption of the amendment as projected.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to make an amendment to the amendment. I would like to have that go to all senators and house members, rather than just Republicans.
Okay, so amendment, are you moving?
Strike Republican.
So the immediate question is the amendment to the amendment would strike the word Republican. Is there any? Further debate? All those in favor of the amendment, which is to add the underlying language, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted, and the underlying language is added to the motion, to the resolution. Is there any debate on the resolution?
Mr. Chair, Sean Cheatham, SC17, I'd like to propose another amendment.
Please proceed.
In the first be it further resolved paragraph, I propose that we strike the last and private from that statement.
No. Let him say why.
Okay. So the proposed amendment is after the first be it resolved.
Yeah, the last and private in that first be it resolved. It's shown accurately on the screen.
So the immediate question is whether or not to strike the and private language as proposed on the screen. Is there any debate?
Can I speak to my motion, please? Y'all, I work in oil, and there are certain operating environments in oil and gas where folks are in close quarters for very long periods of time. You've got drilling rigs, you've got offshore platforms, you've got refinery control rooms, and those employers may feel that it is prudent to require folks in those specific circumstances to get a vaccine to look after the health and safety of their workforce. I'm 100% behind personal liberty and responsibility, but I believe that also applies to private business. And I don't think that we as a party or we as the legislature should be getting in the way of private entity and private entity negotiations. I think that should be left to those folks in contract law and so forth. I see in circumstances that I deal with every day, this could prevent my company from keeping our people safe. And I urge you, let's not get in the middle of that. Let's leave it to systems that are very well in place that are handling this as we speak. I appreciate that I'm probably vastly outvoted here, but I had to get this off the conscience. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia?
Garcia, SC15. Having drafted this resolution, I wanted to read to you one of the whereas clauses. The pervasive vaccine mandates and passports in the private sphere can be just as insidious and dangerous to liberty as government mandates. By promoting a dystopian surveillance society in which an individual can be denied employment or blocked from commercial activity because of vaccination status. If we do not act, we are heading into a place where we will not be able to get a job, we will not be able to bank, we will be able to buy, we will be able to go to a restaurant. We don't have someone checking your vaccine passport, okay? And just because it's a local corporation doing it, instead of the government doing it, you are still fundamentally unfree. And that is totalitarian, okay? Unless we include the private mandates, this resolution is meaningless. So I urge you to vote against the amendment.
Anyone else want to speak for the amendment? Any other debate on the amendment? Okay. Ready for the question, or do you want to talk about the amendments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is important to me because I have a son who had COVID, had the immunity. So because a lot of disinformation was out there, and the government was telling him that he needed to get the vaccine, he got the vaccine. And now he has permanent heart damage. And when I asked him why, well, I thought he knew what I knew, but he didn't. And so when I was researching this, and I want to thank Roger for coming out with the more shorter version. If you read through mine, it was 3 pages. It starts with a Nuremberg code. You know what happened at the Nuremberg trial, right? McMingle was doing experiments in medical treatments on people without their fully informed consent. And that's what came out of the Nuremberg Code. Fully informed consent for a medical procedure or treatment. That's what we do not have today. Jumping back in 1905, when there was a court case which they said that you had to get the smallpox vaccine. And based on that, on the logic and the argument in that case in 1905 and 1927, they ruled, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that you could have forced sterilization. All of the home says 3 generations of imbeciles are enough, and they cut the fallopian tubes of a retarded woman. So that happened in the United States. It is not foreign from us, and it's not foreign from our culture. We have to be ever vigilant. So right now, Western civilization, all civilization is recognized for. That is the fundamental law that they're proclaiming on the Nuremberg Code, that you can't require a person, whether they work in the public sphere or the private sphere, you can't require them to get a medical treatment without fully informed consent. And we all know that this vaccine is experimental.
Any other debate on the amendment? There being none, the question is on the adoption of the amendment as projected by Mr. Cheevan. All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
The noes have it. The motion failed. The motion's lost. I'm sorry. The amendment's lost. The motion fails. Now, currently on the floor is the underlying motion. And the motion to adopt the resolution as projected on the screen. Does anyone have any debate?
Point of inquiry.
Who's speaking?
Tom Evans, 67.
Oh, you're like a ninja, Tom. I know where you came from.
I am pretty quiet. Am I incorrect? Did not the governor add vaccine mandate, prohibition of vaccine mandates for public to the call?
What he said by government.
But only government.
Yes.
Only
That's
government.
Executive Order 39.
Is it public government?
Yes, public government. Executive Order 39.
Pardon? Yeah, public is government. So we're asking him to add that again to the call, but he's already done it. Right, he's added public to the call. So we're asking to again add it. May I suggest that we thank him for adding public and urge him to add private?
You have, so it says, therefore be it resolved, applauds, okay. Let me clarify before I restate. Are you making an amendment, first of all?
I guess, yes, sir, I am.
Okay. So, I understand what you're getting at. So, what you're saying is, the Republican Party of Texas applauds not only Governor Abbott's order prohibiting mask mandates and thanks him for aggressively enforcing the order against rogue local government officials, but also applauds him for adding public vaccine mandate prohibitions to the call.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you go up to the front and have them project your language?
second one, not the second. They were the last result.
Well, yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to just touch one or touch both.
I don't suggest that cross, please.
Well, okay, so.
I wonder it didn't show up in this. Thank you.
Public mask and vaccine mandate.
Governor Adams' order prohibiting.
Vaccine.
Well, we didn't have mask mandates in this, did we? Oh, Paul's Governor Adams' order prohibiting public mask. Thanks, Paul's Governor Adams' order prohibiting mask mandates. Thanks him for aggressively enforcing the order. No, I'm Paul's Governor Adams' order prohibiting mask mandates. And thanks,
Thanks him for adding.
and I would put comma after mask mandates. Thanks him for adding public vaccine mandate prohibitions to the special session call.
And thanks both him and Attorney General Thompson.
Correct.
Right.
Traffic amendments.
A lot of experience with this understanding of law.
And thanks him, both him. And both, I know, but we're thinking governor for the mandates, and we're thinking governor and AG of the rest of the enforcement. Does that make sense? Hold on, let's get that underlined. Yellow.
Yeah, and then you would strike public and.
Oh, wait a second. Okay, wait, all right. Public mask mandate, public and some.
I saw that.
You want to make sure it's getting all your parties.
Sorry.
I'll trust Tom.
That you don't remember that, but okay.
Yeah.
On the policy in the middle.
This might be to add.
No, public is
This is the last
instead of this issue. No, you're right. Instead of this issue, get rid of the bill. He's being on. Just wait, watch this. Come forward. There's an amendment on the floor to add Tom Novis's language to more accurately reflect the governor's executive order, which does impose some private vaccine mandates as well, and to give proper credit where credit's due. I think everything in there is accurate. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Is it acceptable to the author, Mr. Garcia or Ms. Love?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any objection to the amendment? There being none, the amendment's adopted. Now moving on to the main question, which is the motion to adopt the resolution. Mr. Chief.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make one more amendment, or propose one more amendment.
Okay.
In the first, be it further resolved, in the second, be it further resolved, there are 3 instances of the word vaccine. I'd like to put the word COVID in front of each one.
So the motion is to add the word COVID in front of vaccine in all instances where it says be resolved. Would you quiet down, quiet? There's interesting things going on. We missed them. Yes, sir.
It's 2022. I'd like to offer an amendment to the amendment.
Well, go ahead.
There is no second to Sean's motion.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It's a good point of order. Is there a second to Sean's amendment?
Yes, second.
Mr. Trevino seconds it. John, go ahead and offer your amendment.
Thank you,
My
Mr.
fault. Sorry.
My amendment to the amendment is predicated upon the fact that this is not a vaccine at all. A vaccine immunizes you from the receiving whatever it is that you're supposed to be immunized against. It is a proven fact that this doesn't immunize anybody from COVID. So my offer to strike COVID, strike vaccine, and opposes forced injections.
So injection mandate? No.
Not exactly.
The amendment to the amendment is proposed to change the word vaccine.
Let's just say vaccine. Strike COVID and vaccine, but
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes.
The only language that's amendable is the highlighted language. We're getting out of the scope of the amendment.
That's true.
And your point of order is based on? Well, no, this is an amendment to the motion.
But that's already an amendment. He's trying to amend the amendment to address language that's not within the scope of Sean's amendment.
Sean,
he can only amend the yellow language. He can't add language. He can't. So the word COVID is the only word we can make.
You're correct. It's not germane to the amendment. Okay. So it's out of order.
All right. And first, before I talk, y'all, I promise this is the last one. I'm going to sit down and shut up after this. But let's be specific with what we're focused on here. We don't want to pull the party or the legislator into a broader conversation about do colleges require Hep A, Hep B, and meningitis vaccines, which most of them do. I had to do that to prove it before I could go to college. Let's not get into those debates. We'll get drug around in all sorts of directions we don't want. This is what we as a party are concerned about. Let's focus on this and keep the eye on the ball. Thank you.
I'm speaking against the amendment because they could change, they could say it dissolved the vaccine. And additionally, on these government papers, they don't use vaccine. Government uses investigational treatment. So,
For an amendment there on vaccine.
I would remind you, the only amendable language is whether or not, currently, is whether or not to amend the amendment, which deals with whether or not vaccine will be labeled COVID.
So COVID, gene therapy, it would not amend.
That would be the same as Johnson would be susceptible to appointment. So just how I put that. Mr. Garcia?
We're not here to debate the scientific and medical pros and cons of the vaccine or whatever you want to call it. I don't want to get into that debate because we're not competent to do that. But speaking specifically to Sean's amendment, there's going to be new pandemics coming forward, and we're going to be facing the same issue. We're not writing legislation, we are taking a policy position. That's the important thing to state here. No one is going to retroactively question every sort of vaccine requirement. Everyone knows the mandates are coming down, okay? And I think the purpose of this resolution is not to write law, it's to empower the RPT and our chairman to forcefully speak on this. So I would urge you to vote against the resolution. Let's not overthink this, guys, okay? Let's not, I'm sorry. Please don't overthink this. But of course, this is a resolution, so that's what we do, right?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question on the amendment and the main question.
Okay. Mr. Evans has called the question on the amendment, which is COVID vaccine mandates, and on the main question, which means we're going to vote now whether or not to call the question on both the amendment and the main motion. This is just whether or not to vote, okay? If you're in favor of calling the question on both, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now we are voting on Mr. Cheatham's motion, which is whether or not to add the word COVID in front of vaccines. If you are in favor of Mr. Cheatham's amendment, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. The noes have it. The amendment fails. Now we are voting on the main motion. As amended by Mr. Notice. And I believe that's the only amendment that was on. Okay. So it is moved that the resolution defending medical freedom, is it projected then? As projected, be adopted. As read, projected on one screen. Projected on no screens. As amended by Mr. Novis. Be adopted. All in favor of the proposed resolution will vote with their voting pad. Press 1A if you are in favor, 2B if you are opposed, and 3C if you are abstaining. The motion. We're voting on the motion to adopt the resolution.
Where's Bill? It's on.
Fair brother. Was on. Jason. Dr. Alma. Mr. Razio.
Vote with the winning.
Chairman, are you going to vote? She's going to make
You ready, Virgil?
About 5 more seconds.
Perfect. Voting will close in 5,
Did a good part.
4, 3, 2, 1. Voting is closed. Will the secretary please read the results?
Voted. Very good. Result. 56-2-2. 2 and 2.
The affirmative passes and the resolution is adopted.
Yay, thank you, everybody. All right, we're not done. Okay, therefore, be it resolved that the Republican Party of Texas opposes the passage of Proposition 2 on the November 2nd, 2021 ballot. Be it further resolved that opposing Proposition 2 shall be a priority for the Republican Party of Texas for the November 2nd, 2021.
Thank you. The
It has to do with bonds and flood areas for counties being.
The resolution, it has been moved to adopt the resolution opposing Proposition 2. We'll open the floor for debate.
Speaking for the resolution, I was reminded that in 2011, this was on the ballot. It fell by 56%. And the reason they think it fell is because it had bonds in it. Well, this time they've taken the word bonds out. But do not be deceived, they will still tax you.
Four.
For the resolution to oppose Proposition 2.
And it was clear, this proposition would give counties the authority to issue bonds for economic development in blighted areas. Cities can do this, but counties cannot. And obviously, because it's worked so well for cities, right? Because there's no new models, and then all these, economic development projects, where they, where contractors and certain developers get taxpayer money. Because that's worked out so well. So now we want to get counties on the game. Clearly it's an awful idea. And again, these are bonds. It gives the county to issue bonds for this purpose, which means raising property taxes. So I think it's a no-brainer for you to support the resolution.
This is a Democrat-sponsored idea, so I think we can say yes.
And I will add that the House Research Organization opposite government financing, which could raise local property taxes. Texas's local debt per capita already is too high, and by increasing debt further, CSHJR 99 can fight higher taxes, tie up future funds for debt service payments, and risk local credit ratings. Cities and towns already can use this debt mechanism to finance infrastructure projects in blighted areas. County governments are not as close or well known to the taxpayers of those areas, should not be issuing this kind of debt for taxpayers to bear. There being no other argument, the question is on the adoption of the motion to adopt the resolution. Those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying, oh, I'm sorry. We're doing that. It's been like the whole day. I messed up like 3 times. Okay, so we're on the resolution 2. It is moved that the resolution is projected to be adopted. All in favor of the proposed resolution will vote with their voting pad. Press 1A if you're in favor, 2B if you're opposed, 3C if you're abstaining.
Fernando?
We'll close the voting in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Are you voting, Fernando? You voting? You have 1 second.
Just say yes.
Yes.
One, voting's closed. The secretary, please read the results.
No. Go to Cheevan for green. Go to June. So it's everybody. 62, 0, and 0.
The resolution is adopted unanimously and the affirmative pass it. One more.
Thank you, Ms. On behalf of the Resolutions Committee, I move adoption of resolution recommending a legislative change to Election Code 174.063. Be resolved that the State Republican Executive Committee requests that this change to Election Code be included in the state, and be further resolved that the State Republican Executive Committee requests that the Texas Legislature amend Section 174.063, subsection A of the Election Code to read, conventions shall be held on days set by the State Executive Committee by rule. These rules shall allow the committees at each level of convention to select a day from those allowed by the State Executive Committee and set the hour and place in convening their conventions. Be it further resolved that the State Republican Executive Committee requests that copies of this resolution be sent to the Governor, the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker of the House, the Republican County Chairs, and the Republican Precinct Chairs across the great state of Texas.
I'm just going to stand on this now. Okay, so the motion is on the resolution recommending, the motion to adopt the resolution recommending a legislative change to Election Code 174.063. Debate is open.
And SDI. I just want to mention that I'm withdrawing my support of this. I believe that my name is listed amongst others who are supporting, and I'm withdrawing.
Okay. Mr. Garcia, are you?
Yeah, speak in favor. Untitled Garcia, SC15. First of all, I draw attention to the first whereas in this resolution. The Republican Party of Texas is an independent organization with a role in assembly and should be allowed to create its own rules and run its own convention as it sees fit. I don't see how anyone in this room would support our convention dates being dictated by the state. So before everyone, jumps up and says in opposition to this, I want to be clear about what this doesn't do. This resolution is simply asking for a legislative change in the election code. Even if they adopt the change in the election code, that doesn't change anything because nothing changes until the SREC decides whether to stick to one date for the county and SC conventions or to select a range of dates. So I can't emphasize this enough before everyone jumps up in opposition to this. This doesn't change anything. Nothing, even if this is passed and the legislature passes this, nothing changes until the SREC, we decide whether we want to move forward with one convention, with one county SC convention date, or allow counties and SCs to choose from a range of dates. So this is about giving us that power and not leaving it in the election code. And I can't imagine why they would oppose that.
Mr. Chairman, Steve Evans, SD 28.
election code doesn't tell us what day to have a convention. We do. We go to great lengths to unify that date. We message that on our website. We ask staff to be available. We've already had tons of conversations. Well, we need to reduce the cost of staff. We need to limit travel. We need to move our meetings to Austin to reduce costs. But now we're asking to expand the largest task that Brandon and staff has to do, and that is support the county executive committees while they have the conventions. And now we're going to ask them to do it on a range of dates. We unify a date for a reason. It does reduce costs. Everybody knows when the conventions are happening. I get the argument in some large multiple Senate district counties that elected officials want to move around. We don't have that problem out here in West Texas. Welcome to Lubbock. Thank you. But we've got one date where we're still able to select that date, and I agree with you, Rolando. I want to get the election and the law out of our private organization too. But right now, we do have to abide by election code. The law specifically says we have to abide by it. It does give us that option. We need to stay on course with one day and not complicate this process and unify that so that we can all do our conventions together and then move on. Thank you.
Anyone else speak in favor? Mr. Notes?
As it was my resolution that I wrote it, the intent is so multi-county districts or representatives cannot go to multi-conventions because they're all on one day. Allowing us to pick multiple dates could solve that and let the electeds as well as our SREC members attend multiple conventions. But as Mr. Garcia so stated, this doesn't change anything until we do. This just gives us the option to change if we so decide.
Thank you. Mr. Don.
Dallas, you say I should speak against this. This for one reason, to ensure that we have unity and standardized procedures for any recognized party in the state of Texas to follow. To ensure that if you're going to get on a ballot in Texas, you have to do these things. So they're not telling us how to run the party, but it is the standard by which to be recognized so that you can have a place on a Texas election ballot. It is important that we do have election laws because it helps standardize things. I fully believe that we should exert our autonomy as a private organization at times. However, we do have to work within law when it relates to election code and selecting our candidates. I'm against requesting this information, this change, because we're allowed to set our own day. What the law says is you will, by your rule, set a day. So that just means we set whatever day it is here at our level. Matter of fact, if you recall, we spent a lot of time just earlier thinking out and discussing our rule for setting a day, and we were pretty unanimous, as I recall in Chairman Evans' rule, that we were going to have a day. So this is counter to what we just worked on to a large degree. So I encourage you to vote against this. Keep a day set by this body's rules on when conventions are held. We're now in a wonderful electronic age that we have all joyfully experienced. Because we've had our various representatives send in their videos, so can our electeds and anyone else that needs to get.
Jason Wall, proxy for Don Elliott, ST13, will be speaking in favor of this resolution. I had actually originally talked about Tom Novus and Dion about this, and I was going to be against it because Dion scares me.
And 3 times in a million miles, I just want to mention that.
And but I actually agree on the point that everything probably should be on one day. What I don't agree with is the fact that the legislature should have anything to do with how we set our conventions as much as possible. Texas is one of the very, very few states, if not the only state, that is still controlled by the legislature. It's happened for 70 plus years, back when it was Democrat controlled. California sued so that they did not have to be controlled by their legislature. We have the freedom of assembly, we have the right of association. I would highly, this is one step a little bit closer that gives a little bit less authority to the Texas legislature over the RPT, and that's why I have changed my personal opinion and will be voting for it. Don't kill me, Dion.
Beyond science, beyond the fact that it was an unmitigated disaster for 2020 to have multiple days, beyond all of that, I will say that this is a fight that we are not supposed to be having at this point. It does not fit the call of this special session. It has nothing to do with election integrity. And our guys have just spent 2 months doing Herculean tasks, partially because the Dems decided to walk away, and now we're going to ask them to do something that they don't even have the ability to fulfill. That's not fair to them. And this is an untimely fight that we don't have to have now, and I respectfully ask you, for a whole lot of reasons, to please vote no on this.
Anyone in favor? Anyone beyond? Matt? Anyone? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Susan Wright, SB10, I rise in opposition. I have a couple of reasons. Number one, we have fulfilled our obligation as a party. We have set our date. We did that this morning. We did it in such a long part of the Rules Committee, and I'm proud of the work that we did under Chairman Evans' leadership. We worked hard to find a date that was not coupled with an actual election date, and the body approved that earlier. So we fulfilled our obligation. If we now ask the legislature to jump in and do something else, I think we're making too many asks in a short period of time. I think we should be a little more respectful than that. Moreover, the argument that elected officials can't make all of these in larger counties, I'm a Tarrant, state rep and state senate district in Tarrant County. He went to Ellis and Navarro. He did every one of them on one day, every time. It can be done.
So far, plus, and correct me if I'm wrong, the SREC may have to set multiple dates if this passes, possibly. There may be some unintended consequences that we haven't thought about yet. And looking back at 2020, I know y'all don't want to think about that anymore. I don't either. But looking back, how chaotic things were, we may have that same situation in 2022. And the more
Just letting people know where we are, we're probably about 10 minutes or so behind schedule, so keep that in mind with the debate.
The convention committee, with Tommy, with Virgil, who else? Sean. You know, we've been thinking about how can we make this better. You know, I do know that it was a real big problem last time, but did we learn something? As an SREC, I had the opportunity not to just go to the convention in Harris County, but I was able to go to Fort Bend as well. And that was a great insight into their convention. Now, I like informality too, but being an Air Force officer, I can be flexible. And I heard earlier that we set a date, yeah, but I also heard this morning that could change depending on when our primary is. We built in some flexibility, if I recall. We picked the 4th of March, right? But that could change depending.
Depending on when there's Passover or Easter.
Okay. Well, I'm still in support of this. I'm still in support. Because I actually gave the idea to Tommy, so. I think we can do this. We're not setting a date, but this body can set a period of dates, just like we did last time. And we got through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt Bradford, SC16. I'm going to reiterate what everybody else said, but a couple of quick points. If you remember our last 2 SD conventions, I had elected officials that come and speak all through my convention, and some of them will get there first thing in the morning because they have to travel and go somewhere else. So we accommodate them. Some of them come in the middle of the day, right when I'm in the middle of something, and I end up.
There's a motion to postpone the motion indefinitely, And there's a second. Is there any debate? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion to postpone indefinitely, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. The motion is postponed indefinitely. You're done.
Thank y'all so much, and safe travels. Good night.